Are you the type of teacher who's tired of seeing this and wanting to see more of this? Well, don't worry, because you're not alone. I used to be like you until I began a new chapter in my life at Full Sail University. Hi, my name is Shahinaz Abdurrahim, and I have been a special educator for almost 4 years, teaching a self-contained classroom at an all-special ed high school in Chicago, Illinois. My classroom consists of students ages 15 to 21 who function at a pre-K level. I would like to share my story about my action research project that changed my teaching life. It all began back in February 2010 when I was told that the coming months were going to be centered around an instructional problem that needed to be addressed and changed hopefully within my classroom. Hence my AR project. I was really excited because there were quite a few things that I wanted to see change inside my class. But that excitement ended when I felt stuck. I was struggling with trying to decide what problem I wanted to address with my students. I felt like a ping pong ball being hit back and forth. I was debating between behavior, comprehension levels, classroom management, motivation, and getting my students to be engaged in a lesson. I felt like they all tied in together one way or another, but I needed to determine what was most important. After a few emails and iChat conversations with Professor DeLeon, I decided that what bothered me the most was that my students just weren't comprehending the learning material. I was tired of teaching my heart out and getting nowhere. Rather than them being engaged in the learning process, they were... I truly felt like a failure to them. In my MLT course, I was reminded how each student learns differently, and as educators, it is our job to utilize teaching strategies to meet their learning needs. Apparently, I was failing in this area because I was used to instructing with traditional teaching methods of paper and pencil that I was accustomed to. I decided to take a new approach and test the waters by focusing my AR on the integration of technology-based tools to increase student comprehension levels inside the classroom, more specifically in math, science, and language arts. Before beginning, though, I took the advice of Professor Wiley and conducted research after research after research. She always advocated the importance of narrowing down our topic and researching it prior to so that we would be sure to find evidence that supported it. I was shocked to find how many resources supported the integration of technology inside the classroom to enhance student learning. I felt confident in my topic. I now needed to figure out what technology-based tools I wanted to experiment with. My school had chosen me to attend a few trainings on something I have never heard of before, a smartboard. After the first 10 minutes, I felt that this was a sign from above. I was blown away by the interactive features this whiteboard had to offer and immediately thought about the different multiple learning intelligences I could address in just one lesson. I decided to utilize the smartboard as the main technology-based tool for my AR. I went home that day and researched smartboards. I felt like a kid in a candy store as I read about the array of benefits a smartboard offered students of all learning levels. I really wanted to test this tool right then and there. I took all the research I had found and began writing my literature review. I'm not going to lie, it was a lot harder than I thought. I had so much information but limited word space to write it all. I found myself rereading articles over and over again because I really needed to pinpoint the main facts. Once again, I was reminded that it's always easier if you have subheadings to focus on, so I chose 3 that I felt were most important to write about and had meaning to my AR. Things were going a lot easier once I decided to find information pertaining to a change in education, technology and learning, and the benefits of digital tools. I was pleased to find research that stressed how students today don't gain as much from traditional teaching methods compared to new technological approaches. This gave me hope for when I would start my AR because I was instructing the traditional way and wanted to try a technological approach. My literature review was supporting things that I was hoping to accomplish. The research highlighted how technology fostered comprehension because multitudes of learning strategies were being used to meet the students' needs, and how classrooms became more hands-on. This was exactly what I wanted to see come out of my AR. My literature review gave me high hopes in that I felt like I found the solution to my problem, but I couldn't go just based off of what others had written. I needed to test it myself. As Cycle 1 approached, I wasn't very thrilled. I decided that in order to see if technology really increases comprehension, that I need to compare it to my traditional methods, meaning I needed to focus Cycle 1 on the paper and pencil approach. Can you say boring? 'Cause I sure can. Prior to implementing Cycle 1 in mid-May, I conducted a pre-survey for each subject area, which every student did poorly on. This was more for my personal use to see what the students knew. With little direction, I was hesitant to start Cycle 1 because it meant going back to my old teaching methods that seemed to have failed in years past. When June came, I was a bit disappointed. Addie, the greatest tool for a teacher anywhere, was introduced to me. I really wish I had this information in month 2 of my journey. This tool would have helped me a lot in the beginning stages of my AR. Nevertheless, I felt that it was never too late to integrate it. With Addie, I found that my AR was running smoothly and I finally had some structure. I was able to organize my thoughts and my AR project as a whole. Addie enabled me to set up Cycle 1 more appropriately and design Cycle 2. My goals and objectives were clearer and I began developing the activities that I would implement and later evaluate to see if technology-based tools did enhance student comprehension. My Addie proposal became my new map to my AR. I started Cycle 1 with an introduction to the smartboard. I did this to see if it drew any attention from my students or if I needed to search for a different technology-based tool. I had my students interact with different activities from familiar websites such as starfall.com. I was pleased to see the positive responses in my classroom. I have never seen my students give me that much of their attention. I really wanted to just get into Cycle 2. Unfortunately, I needed data from traditional teaching methods first, so I took out the papers and pencils and began implementing my lessons. Math focused on counting out a specific amount of objects up to the number 10. Each week, 3 new numbers were added to learn. Science revolved around learning about weather, leading into how to dress appropriately for it. Language arts centered on learning the meaning of who, what, when, where, and why, and then reading short stories and answering questions in relation to the 5 W's. The subjects were taught 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I assessed my students in a few ways. I conducted question-answer sessions, one-on-one sit-downs, and distributed worksheets. Even though I had my map, Cycle 1 was like a roller coaster ride for me. I kept getting pulled from my students to perform tasks for my administration. It was frustrating trying to get Cycle 1 done, and I didn't finish until September, which was 2 months later than I had intended. As for results, my students pretty much failed. I administered a post-survey and found that there was no improvement in comparison to the pre-survey. I wasn't surprised though, because I had a feeling that there would be no change with the utilization of traditional teaching methods because I had failed my students in the past. My data basically proved that I was failing my students and not meeting their educational needs. I was ready to move past Cycle 1 and onto Cycle 2. I couldn't wait to dive in. Cycle 2 is practically an exact replica of Cycle 1, from pre-post surveys to the lessons and evaluations, but with one major difference. Drum roll, please. I used technology. Wow, what a difference! My students were finally participating in class. I was so pleased to see them engaged in the learning process. I even had students volunteer to answer questions and come to the board. After the first 2 weeks, I could already see a change for the better. My students were actually responding correctly to questions and appeared highly motivated. We did hit a few bumps along the way because the smartboard was unavailable at times and I was still being pulled here and there. I found a solution by using the mobile laptops to implement my lessons. Even though it wasn't the smartboard, it was still technology being used and my students loved it. It did poorly on the pre-survey for Cycle 2, but the post-survey showed a great improvement. Even my results from the assessments increased significantly. On average, each student performed 30% better when technology was being utilized in comparison to traditional teaching methods. It was amazing to see how well the students improved. My literature review fully supported my AR and the evidence within it claiming how the integration of technology assists students greatly in the learning process proved to be accurate in more ways than one. Since the success of my AR, I have been utilizing the knowledge I have gained from both my AR and FSL courses. I decided to take it a step farther and implement technology in my other classes. I have seen my students improve in my apartment class when I create music videos and songs that describe the ingredients and steps to a recipe. I have created a Schoology account for my self-care course for both parents and students to help perfect daily grooming skills. During first period, Monday through Friday, the students interact with laptops, exploring a variety of Web 2.0 tools of their choice that are educational and engaging. Using online grocery shopping games helps my students learn the mathematical and basic concept skills they need when we do our weekly grocery trips. Since I first met my students 4 years ago, I have seen them grow more on an educational independent level in these past few months alone. Their facial expressions of pure excitement and motivation reassure me that technology is what they need to succeed. And on behalf of my students and I, we would like to thank Full Sail University for opening our eyes to an endless world of educational technological possibilities.